Okay, good. So the topic today is the binaries, means these oppositional categories: high, low, good, bad, hot, cold. In our ordinary usage, they are mutually exclusive. So the word hot excludes cold. The word cold excludes hot. And when we look at the basic view of Dzogchen, we hear that it is all inclusive. So, from this point of view, the habit of setting up mutually rejecting oppositional categories is unhelpful. It's unhelpful because it continues, it supports us in continuing with the erroneous idea that there are real entities which stand in opposition. And as we can see from the way politicians have been talking recently, if my world is hot, then cold is necessarily my enemy. And so the only way for me to feel safe is to completely destroy the possibility of cold. And we see this with the various wars that are on, that the total victory, the annihilation of the enemy, is still the goal which lies underneath the paranoid fantasy of being a self-existing entity. So begin by looking at the account of the intrinsic structure or the intrinsic way of how it is, which we find in the aspiration of Samantabhadra. And in this text begins by setting out the unchanging original condition. And then after that, it sets out what goes wrong if you fall under the contingent power of unawareness of the ground. The intrinsic, or how it is just how it is. It's not maintained by anything because it's not an artificial construct. Whereas the contingent structures, that is to say, the structures which arise from this meeting that, they have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and they are fragile and have to be maintained with a lot of effort. We often prefer the artificial to the intrinsic. For example, if you go into a big store and you go to the section on cosmetics, you find that there are many, many kinds of anti-wrinkle cream. Having wrinkles is simply a natural sign of aging. So with our situation, if we're lucky enough to live long, we get wrinkles and many marks on our skin as the vitality of our embodiedness starts to fade. So we could look in the mirror and see our strange face and see, oh, yes, going towards death, better do some more dharma. Or we think, I need to get a better quality of skin cream because people won't like me with my wrinkles. So I have to create an artificial face. I will cheat myself and cheat other people. And then I will be happy. or not. So if the truth of our skin is for us, very probably the truth of our mind will be much, much more difficult to see. We get lost, we get confused. There are so many things we don't know. so many skills and qualities we haven't developed. We don't want to feel limited. But when we see that other people have many good qualities that we don't have, then we can feel quite uh, somehow unblossomed, that we're still inside a bud and we haven't fully opened. So there are two main views at this point. One is that we have to try harder to remove the obstacles we face, both outer obstacles and inner obstacles, and do whatever we can to develop our potential, our good qualities. And gradually we will overcome all obstacles, all troublesome Mara demons, and so on. But of course, new provocations, new troubles occur all the time. And many things which look to be beneficial can turn out to be harmful. The other possibility is to try to see, okay, what is my authentic starting point? Is it my story about myself? This is who I am, this is my family, my education, my nation, my culture. So I start with my identity. But this, of course, is also a construct. So what is the root of identity? I'm imagining formation of I, me, myself. But when I stay present with my memories, my plans, my current thoughts, I find that they are moving and changing all the time. All that I think is permanent and reliable and benign and useful is simply a construct of my own conceptualization. So if I relax out of all my diverse habits of self-construction and other construction, how am I? But of course, my way of passing my time from morning to night is to explore different forms of self-identity and different beliefs about I would like this or I would not like that. So how can I get to the right place to start? The ego cannot do this. Our ego self is part of the problem, and it can also be part of the path, but it's not part of the intrinsic. The fact that our sense of who we are can change with circumstances makes us very flexible. The ego feeds itself with aspects of the environment. And by doing this, its continuity is sustained. But the text suggests that we should find our intrinsic presence, which is not the same as our artificially generated identity. And therefore, it's not about constructing a new sense of who we are, but rather to relax and release ourselves from the endless process of self-construction. And then instead of scanning the environment for what seems useful for me, we start to be able to see the potential of the many, many appearances which surround us. And we see that these appearances arise and vanish. They are dynamic, fresh, uncomposed, uncompounded. And so they have no substance on which to build. So if our constructed or imagined identity and authentic basis is not authentic at all and is unreliable, then what shall we turn towards? The lineage is a lineage of revelation. When Siddhartha was sitting under the Bodhi tree, and he relaxed into a state of non-reactivity towards the various provocations that arose, he found himself in his original state. And he realized that this original state or original face had always been there, but it had been hidden from him by his own need to create various masks to wear in different situations. The mask facilitated his joining in certain groups on the basis of the shared assumption that each person had their own autonomous existence. And he saw that the actual truth of our situation is not something imagined, not something created by thought or feeling or sensation. And so he decided that he would not teach because people would not understand. So we have this strange situation in which the intrinsic, that which is just there by itself, uncreated, is difficult to find. And yet the artificial, the fabricated, the imagined seems to be so very easy to generate new patterns and formations. My own effort is what obscures my own nature from me. I am the problem. Or more precisely, my belief that I have an autonomous existence, that I exist apart from the environment, this delusion blinds me to the truth. This is then very difficult because I feel I have to make effort, but my own effort seems to just generate confusion. And if I don't make effort, I'll be stuck in this foggy territory, this dark forest of hopes and fears. That's why we have the teachings which come from the primordial Buddha Samantabhadra. Because from his unchanging clarity, he is able to show how it is and encourage us to not interfere with the arising and passing of thoughts and memories and plans and so on, but simply to follow the direction of the teaching. Now, there's a slight problem because the truth of our actual situation is not grasped by concepts. But our daily activity is relying on concepts, making patterns of concepts. It's how most of us put food in our mouth and pay the rent and so on. So if I'm thirsty and you give me a glass of orange juice, when I pick it up and I see how cool it is, I think, oh, I love orange juice. What speaks to me is the orangeness of the orange, the qualities of the content of what is in the glass. But of course, if I keep the orange juice in the glass, I can't enjoy it. So I drink the orange juice. Now I don't have orange juice. I just have an empty glass. What good is that? I need to find something to put in it. So this is our situation. We have many thoughts, memories, plans. These are the different flavors of our experience. When we engage with them, we find that they dissolve and vanish. And as one thought or one pattern vanishes, we're all ready to receive the next thought or pattern. I can't drink an empty glass. What use would be an empty mind? I function in the world on the basis that my mind is full of memories and associations and feelings and knowledge and so on. And indeed, when we look, we see that the mind has many, many contents, but they're always vanishing. What remains is the mind. It's there. It's available. It's always available. So why would I not choose something which is open, freely available, intrinsic, rather than grasping at thoughts and feelings which are always vanishing and things I just can't hold on to? So this is at the heart of our practice. Can we see that grasping at transient content creates a solidification, a reification of temporary occurrences, which gives them a false sense of enduring reality? Oh. With this as a background, sense that we have a choice between the familiar and the unfamiliar, we then turn to the authentic words of the primordial Buddha Samantabhadra, the always good, and see if we can open ourselves to the simplicity of what he is describing. So he says, oh, all the possible appearances and existences of samsara and nirvana have the same source. Means whatever is happening, whether it seems good or bad, sweet or sour, mine or yours, there is only one source to this. And yet, two paths and two results arise from this. And these paths and their results arise as the magical display of awareness and unawareness. So if I say President Trump is not Russian, that statement is not something to think about too much. There is no evidence that he is Russian. But maybe he is Russian. Maybe the truth hasn't been told to us. Many people are very surprised that President Trump seems to like Mr. Putin. So maybe Trump really is Russian. We can think anything, we can believe anything, because all thoughts have as their life energy or their life force the fact that we believe in them. They are beliefs, and the wind or the air of our faith blows into the object and it starts to shine. So what he's saying is that the formations that we take to be the forms of liberation and freedom, what is in brief called nirvana, this is a concept. And all the appearances of samsara are also concepts. When we don't conceptualize and we simply see how it is, then we can access the original, simple, unaltered, uncontrived taste. No additives. No salt, no pepper, no chili. What is its taste before you add something? So this is what is revealed by awareness, the original face, the original nature, the simplicity of unchanging how it is. Unawareness means that this simple direct connectivity between what is emerging in the field and the quality of presence or awareness are not different. It's not that I know something about this. Awareness simply sees or reveals or unveils. Awareness is the site, the location of revelation. At this moment, the mind shows itself as speaking and listening and gestures and so on. This is not the mind itself as it is, this is the mind as it shows. If we don't see the unchanging basis, then we only have access to the shapes and colors of appearances. And then we interpret, we project meaning into the appearance. We don't directly see how it is, so we tell it what it is. Now, because every appearance is the appearance of the ground, nothing that appears has its own existence or private essence. And yet we imagine that it does. I am James. I'm not John. I'm not Mary. I'm James. Therefore, John and Mary should not be applied to me. The space of identity is already filled with Jamesness. And yet, of course, James is an empty signifier. So when we meet each other, it's very normal that we say, "How are you?" If I knew that you were always the same and never changed, it would be a bit silly to say, "How are you?" because I would already know. Your name is stable, but how you are is always changing. So awareness shows that the actuality of everything is dynamic and arising and passing like a cloud in the sky. There is no substance except the internal substance and identity and true existence that I conceptualize and impute to the object. I project it into the object and then see it as being the true condition of the object. So there is one ground or one openness or one source or one infinity. When we say one here, it's not saying, oh, this is one thing with a definite shape that I can know as something. It means that whether we're looking at liberation or confusion and imprisonment in duality, these experiences arise within ungraspable space. And nothing that we imagine can be present for long. That is to say, you can look in your memories to tell you what you did yesterday. But yesterday is gone. So when you remember what you did yesterday, you are telling yourself a story. You are talking about the past, which is gone, which is not here, which is not available. You're talking about it as if it is here and available. And this is how samsara is. It is a believable, imaginal world. When we make it seemingly real or substantial or reliable, we blind ourselves to its ungraspable magical nature. Oh, Samantabhadra is saying to us that by setting out this account of how the mind is, in the palace of infinite hospitality, may all beings awaken to full enlightenment. Now, because we imagine that we know who we are and how we are able to make very precise choices about what we would like and what we wouldn't like. That is to say, the welcome I give to the world is a limited and limiting welcome. The dwelling place of the ego is not the palace of infinite hospitality. So I live in my flat with my papers and the articles I need in order to stay on my Dharma path. Living in London, there are many things I could do with my time. I could go to the theater or the cinema. But now I think, oh, you're getting very old, James, and you will die. You should choose Dharma, not the cinema. So it is as if there is a bias built into a Dharma life. Oh, difficult to know how to be. Maybe I should be a Christian Buddhist and get two benefits. Maybe. Anything is possible when you rely on concepts. Because then you can imagine there is a deficit here, a lack. There is an excess here. There is too much of this, and therefore I need to adjust and adjust and adjust. But Samantabhadra is saying the source, the ground or the basis from which, within which every possible appearance is present, all these possibilities are welcome. So if you have some thoughts that say you're very dull and stupid, or that you failed in your life, maybe your children don't want to speak with you very much, or you see that the career you follow in order to get the money to pay the rent and so on, this career is not fulfilling. I should have done something different. That would have been better. This is not infinite hospitality. That is a finite or limited hospitality arising on the basis of I am who I think I am. Oh, he's with these two paths and two results. With one path, we see how the source is and how everything manifests non-dual with or inseparable from this source. And so its existential status is to be like a mirage, like an illusion. But if I want to see the infinite, I have to open to it. The small and the restricted can't contain the infinite. So it's by relaxing and releasing myself from my identification with the signifiers of a definable personal identity that I can start to appreciate that I also am the flowering of the unborn ground. So then he describes how the ground is. The Tibetan word is ji, or in Sanskrit, alaya, and it means like the ground outside, beneath the pavement, beneath the houses, the basic fundament on which everything is built. But this ground is not like any other ground we know. So now he's going to describe how it is. He's talking about moment by moment, what is the basis of your presence as a noetic or knowing capacity, and your experience as the site of display of many different possibilities. So he says the source or the basis or the ground of everything means there is no other source, there is no other place where thoughts are created or intentions are formulated. Oh, I have my thoughts, and each of you have your thoughts. You have direct access to your thoughts. I have direct access to my thoughts. And so it seems that my thoughts are mine. They arise in my mind. I'm not making them. And yet they're in my mind. And so it's as if they are mine. Probably most of what arises in my mind happens for me. It occurs to me. I'm not making it happen. But because I can have intentional thoughts, I can imagine that I am the creator of all the thoughts, all the sensations, all the feelings. I am the ground or source of my experience. So he's pointing out this is a false understanding. Your actual ground, the actual basis for what occurs is the ungraspable source. It's your source, but it's not a possession. You arise from it. It is the mother, you are the child. The mother gives birth to the child. But under the power of delusion, of unawareness, we imagine that the child is the mother of the mother. I am the thinker of my thoughts. My thoughts arise from my mind. My mind is the source of my thoughts, and I am the owner of my mind. He's going to point out how this way of understanding is a delusion. So he says the source of all is uncompounded, means it's not gathered together. So if you were cooking a stew, you might taste it from time to time to see, does it need more salt or pepper or whatever you might add. The stew is the meeting place for many different flavors. It is put together. When the ingredients collaborate in a harmonious way, the flavor of the stew seems to have an integrity, but it is compounded. The flavor is a composite. And so the separate nature of the ingredients is hidden within the functioning together. So if I have made a lamb stew, that's very different from a vegan bean stew. The lamb stew has different ingredients and different flavor and different potential in your mouth and for your health from the vegan stew. They appear to be discrete and mutually exclusive entities, and to have an internal essence. So the dominant quality of one stew is that it has a lot of lamb in it with fat and so on. And the other has only vegetables. No cheese, no milk, no animal products at all. They have different characteristics. And on the basis of being conscious of these different characteristics, we impute an essence. This is a lamb stew. The essence of the stew is lamb. So by the coming together of these different ingredients, it is as if they generate some dish which has inherent existence. This is the lamb stew, and it's not suitable for vegans. So what I'm pointing out is that even when we encounter compounded formations like a building or a car or a shop, we see it as being something. The house is made by the placing of bricks and cement in order to create stable vertical walls. Even when you look at the building and you can see the shape of the individual bricks, these details don't seem very important, because we're concerned, is that Mary's house? Is that where she lives? Maybe I need to go and see her. So for my purposes, the fact that Mary might live there gives a specific identity to the house. And in this way, the compounded nature of the house becomes invisible to me. So it's very important to look at your life. Can you identify anything in your life which seems to be self-existing? Everything you claim to know or to own is brought together by causal forces and circumstances. It is my own mind which identifies what is there. If I look carefully, I see everything is compounded. So if I look at the tree, I can tell you something about the tree. So if I think, okay, well, how is the tree when I'm not there? Is it what I think it is? Is it only what I think it is for me? Because the shape of the trunk of the tree, the color of the leaves, how they move in the wind, this will create impressions in you, and you will formulate your sense of the tree. So if you take yourself out of the tree, what is left? You see, it just is. It's uncompounded. The tree becomes knowable when I compound it with my beliefs, my knowledge, my experience. When I see the tree, I see the tree for me, or the tree and me. And on the basis of that, I can have many thoughts and feelings. But if I don't introduce my memories, my thoughts, my hopes and fears, we see that there is no basis for separating the tree from the earth beneath it or the sky above it. The tree is part of the total, or the infinite disclosure of the entire field of experience. The mind is uncompounded. The space of appearance is uncompounded, because the factors of composition are themselves without self-substance. The tree is born with my mind. If I don't project my thoughts and feelings into what I take to be the tree, it remains unborn, open potential. But when I project my thoughts and feelings and memories into the tree, onto the tree, the tree becomes the tree for me, and it is compounded by this interaction. That is to say, compoundedness is the quality of our experience when it's under the power of duality. And uncompounded is the quality of the field of experience, including I, me, myself, when I don't add my opinions, my judgments, and my assumptions. Our mind is naked, raw, fresh. It's not covered with anything, it's just here. So if I say, this is an oak tree, am I revealing some deeper truth about the tree, that it is in fact an oak tree? Or am I covering up the naked, raw, ever fresh actuality of what is occurring? From the point of view of unawareness, the concepts that we have about things seem to be showing us the truth of things. And when we relax into the unchanging openness of awareness, we see that the source is empty, and all that occurs in, as, and from the source also has the nature of uncompoundedness. I am not a compound. I am not a thing, and neither is my source. So this is something we need to examine again and again for ourselves. It's not a dogma to believe, but it is the naked, raw actuality, which is the living vitality of our intrinsic presence. Okay, so we take a break here for half an hour. Good. Okay. So then Samantabhadra says, this ground or source is Rangjung, self-arisen. Self-arisen or self-arising means not arising on the basis of anything else. It means infinite, eternal, unconstructed. It just is. When we look at our mind as it functions in the world, we see that everything we encounter arises from causes and conditions. But the mind itself doesn't arise from anything else. It has no mother, no father, no creator. It's not made by any kind of God. Everything which has a beginning will have an end. But the mind itself, in being unborn, in not coming into existence, in being the very basis for every pseudo-existent that we perceive, it is unchanging. And so it doesn't die. Then he says, this mind or the source is Longyang, which means of vast expanse. It is infinite expansion and infinite depth. There is nothing behind it making it happen. So when sometimes we use the 5 questions to look at the mind, does the mind come from someplace? Does it stay someplace? Does it go someplace? Is it big? Is it small? And so on. And we can't find anything. You see, oh yeah, the mind is not like anything else. All things, all entities are born from their concept. That is to say, the naming of the entity imputes to what is there a sufficient separated existence that it can carry its own weight. It can be true to itself. The infinity of the mind has no limit. There is nothing other than it. That's why he began by saying this, the ground, there is one ground. So in a modern city, there are many small factories. And the factory where they make shoes is not the same as the factory where they make T-shirts. They have different sources, different ingredients. So this factory is not the same as that factory. But here, Samantabhadra says, only one source, only one ground. Everything has the same source, and that source is empty, and nothing comes from nothing. And he says, this source is inexpressible. When we speak, we express our opinions, our evaluations, our judgments. That is to say, we talk about how life seems to us. And by speaking about it, we give a shape and a facticity and a seeming existence to what we're talking about. So if you go to the cinema and you see a film and you really enjoy it, you might say to a friend, oh, you really have to see this film. It's fantastic. The film is good for me. Will it be good for you? Only you can know. And if you have trouble at work, or you have a toothache, due to many, many factors, you may not like the movie. So I like the film, and I believe that the film in itself is good. And it will be good for anyone. It is intrinsically good. But this is false. Because people engage with the forms of the world according to their self-composition. We are composite. And due to the the history of my formation, this shaping of how I participate in the world will generate my opinions. This is good, this is bad. There is no end to naming and labeling and having assumptions and opinions. For example, say you go and sit in a cafe in a busy square in town with many people coming and going. And you have a little mirror with you. And you hold the mirror so that it reveals the commotion, the busyness of the town square. I might ask you, what do you see? And you say, oh, the people are rushing as if they're late. Maybe there's some football match starting soon. We say that on the basis of looking at the reflection in the mirror. What we are unlikely to do is to comment on the mirror itself. The reflections in the mirror have many little hooks that allow us to be involved in our interpretation of what is happening. But the mirror itself doesn't have that. You might say, oh, it's a very small mirror. Or it's a very good mirror. It has a good reflective quality. But we are likely to run out of words quite soon. Just a mirror. It shows what you put in front of it. So again, the reflections in the mirror hide from us the truth of the clarity of the mirror. We take the mirror for granted, just as we take the mind for granted. while paying attention to the thoughts, the feelings, the memories, and so on. But Samantabhadra is saying you cannot express anything, you cannot say anything about the source because it's not a thing. Now, because this source is the mother of everything, and everything is of the mother, the actuality or the intrinsic truth of what appears is that it is ungraspable and without any inherent existence. The existence of the object is the presence of my concept about the object. That is to say, I put the meaning into the object. That I'm thinking or talking about from the field of which it is a part. The thing that I am focusing on, this object I am describing, is actually part of the whole. It's just part of the field of experience which is arising. But when my attention is drawn towards a specific object, that seems to give more reality or separate truth to that object, while the others are just the background. So the uncompounded is inexpressible, but the compounded is very expressible. We're always talking about how things are put together, which politicians are going to be friends with each other, which are going to be enemies, and so on. The inexpressibility of the source is the way in which we can see that the source is beyond grasping, beyond definition. So the qualities of the object are created by the mind of the observer of the object. So if I say, I like you, that implies you exist, I exist, and I have an enduring appreciation of your good qualities. But my opinion changes. Somebody tells me some interesting gossip about you, and then I think, oh, maybe I don't like you so much anymore. Because I believe that my thought about you reveals the truth of you to me. Now, this is quite tricky, because my mind, my skill in applying concepts is so refined, so developed, that I believe I'm talking about something which is already established out there. But what occurs for me is my experience of you, or my interpretation of how you are. I believe that my thoughts about you tell me the truth about you, when in fact they tell me something about me. What it tells me about me is that my opinions are unstable. They arise on the basis of the many other factors which are occurring. My opinion about you is compounded. Some of the factors in this construction of who you are for me is coming from my experience of you, and some of it is coming from the field around. And we have to balance how these forces are. For example, a few years ago, I was speaking with a Polish lady, and she had been working in Germany. She had a good job, and her life was going well, but she hadn't told her parents. because for her father, her Polish father, the Germans are the enemy. His Germany was the Germany of the Second World War. Her Germany was the Germany of Berlin and the new entrepreneurial economy in which she was doing well. There is no real Germany. The word Germany is an empty signifier. And so it can refer to the potential of all the thousands and hundreds of thousands of definitions and interpretations of what Germany is. There is no Germany. There are millions of Germanys. So in the practice of Dzogchen, this is very important. Don't depend on reified abstractions as if they would bring you to the actuality of how it is. How it is very direct. It's already always happening for you. Oh, I look out the window. What I see is light, patterns of light. What I think is cars parked in the street, a tree, someone taking a dog for a walk, and so on. So we might think, oh, what kind of dog is it? Is it a fighting dog or a little poodle? There's a lot to say about dogs. But what I'm actually experiencing is light. So how is the light? Good. It's very good at being light. Conversation breaks down. There's more to say about dogs than light. Because we're used to the idea of dogs as a possession, as things that can be named. And so you have to take the dog to the vet to get injections and tests and so on. There's a lot of doggy thoughts you can have. But the dog as a creature with a mind is a flow of experience, and the dog is demonstrating different expressions of happiness, sadness, sickness, health, and so on. The dog has had so many changes in its life, but we only talk about a selection of what we have noticed. If you like, the actuality or the living presence of the dog is itself always in excess of all the concepts that you could apply to it. Whatever we say about the dog is never the whole story. So over the years, some of us have looked at this point many, many times. And we see that the power to name and define is very often a toxic power. These people are terrorists. We need to lock them up or put them in a concentration camp. So at the beginning of the Boer War, at the end of the 19th century, the Boers were farmers in South Africa from a Dutch origin, and they were spread out because a lot of the land was difficult to farm, so there was a lot of desert or rocky land. And there was war started between the Boers and the British, and the British gathered the farmers and put them in a concentration camp. It was the origin of concentration camps. If they couldn't find the man of the family, they bring the women and children anyway and keep them all there so that they could better control what was going on. And we put them in this gathering place, this compounding place, because we know they're bad. Before they were just farmers. Now they are farmers who are our enemies. And they are our enemies because we are fighting them. The enemy has no depth within it. It's not like saying these people are our enemies because they don't have real flesh and blood hearts. They have a little square steel box inside. They are not like us. They are other. They are alien. And therefore we should kill them. Because we need us, because we're the good guys. We don't need them because they're the bad guys. So as soon as war is declared, the Boers get an injection of bad boy. So who are the Boers? Oh, they are very dangerous. They are destructive. They are murderers. I have the power to define the other. So that's an extreme kind of example, but it speaks of you can go in the supermarket and you can name each thing you see there. Even if you would never eat it yourself, you can work out what it is. So what he's saying here is the mind is inexpressible. It's not like anything else. Though we might say, oh God, I get tired of my mind. I have these stupid thoughts again and again. They drive me crazy. My mind, my possession. Unfortunately, it doesn't function the way I would like it to. It gives me the wrong kind of thoughts. So I get very unhappy. But I'm stuck with this mind. So when I think that my mind is a thing, something I possess, but I cannot control, then I can have endless thoughts about how I'm doing, happy or sad, and so on. But no matter how much I think about my mind, I never get to it. Because the mind itself and the thoughts I have about the mind are like two parallel worlds. Just as the tree outside my window is ceaselessly showing patterns as the wind blows through the leaves, the complexity of the patterning of the leaves is beyond conceptualization. I can't catch it as it is, but I can define it on my terms. I can pull the tree into my familiar frame of reference. So I might say, I really like that tree. So, if you like it, how many leaves does it have? Oh, I don't really know. I like it. Oh, you like your sense of the tree, not the tree as it is, naked in itself. But my mind's always telling me about the tree. Oh, 1 second, I must go to the door. Aha! The postman was bringing me more medicine because James is not self-existing. James plus medicine may be existing a little bit longer. So whenever you are reading or reflecting or talking with someone, try to open yourself to the wondrous, magical nature of sound. Sound is always dissolving. It's vanishing. And yet, on the basis of hello, how are you, we start to build up bridges of connection with other people. The sound is vanishing, but it's as if it generates the meaning. So when we think about what we are saying, we are thinking about the concepts, the semantic content, which is sitting on top of the sound. I am using the pattern of sound to create meaning. So I have a cotton shirt on at the moment. The cotton bush produces balls, little round, dense white formations inside a sharp kind of shell. So nowadays, when the cotton is picked, it's sent to the factory with vibrating metal parts, and it separates out the strands of cotton, which can then be spun and woven into cloth. So I might say, I am wearing strands of cotton. That's a very strange thing to say. I'm wearing a shirt. Because shirt is a better conclusion than little strands or filaments of cotton. So if you see me wearing the shirt, what you see is a color. You think shirt. And in between, you don't think of these strands of cotton, which are spun and then woven. It is as if the shirt is self-existing. A shirt is a shirt is a shirt. But it's a compound, it's a composite of many strands. So if you take this image or metaphor and you apply it to language, if I say I like apples, the meaning is resting on the sound. I like apples. But when we hear apple, its value for me is it's what it can signify. Without sound, I wouldn't be able to communicate. But I take the sound as a kind of vehicle or the carrier or the donkey. And sitting on the donkey is this concept of apples. So when the concept of apple catches my attention, the sound is irrelevant. It vanishes into the background. So we say apple. So if we're Buddhist, we do Om Ahung. We don't go Om Apple. So what is of interest to us is the way our dualistic consciousness can grasp the sound of apple and fill it with the meaning of what we take to be the truth of the apple. So the immediacy is the sound, and the indirect or the mediated or the interpreted is the concept. So when we are completely addicted to making sense of our experience, we are putting meaning into the patterns of sound. The sound itself doesn't carry that meaning. Only if you know the language that the sound is operating within will the meaning be apparent. So you see with small babies, they can make quite a range of sounds. And then gradually they have to learn how the sound and the meaning go together. And babies usually or infants go through a process of pointing. And so the parents might say, don't point all the time, tell me what you want. Because if you can make sound, you can make the sound which carries the meaning that will let us know what you want rather than just pointing. So when he's saying that the source or the ground is inexpressible, it means the basis, the openness, the freshness, you can't express. But what you can speak about is your comment about the commentary that's already in the culture about everything. And he says this source is impossible to label as samsara or nirvana. These names have meaning inside the compoundedness, the artifice of linguistic composition. Whatever language you use, whether it's pure Buddhist language or Christian or any philosophical system, the exposition, the description cannot actually be what is described. So what I talk about, what I describe, what I believe in is never the actuality, the immediate direct presence. I talk about concepts. So conception is when this male and female potential come together and you have the beginning of life in the fetus. So when your intelligence is oriented or organized in terms of duality, of the seeming true difference between subject and object, or self and other, concepts talk about concepts. So if I say, I find this very boring, I just can't get my mind to engage with this. I have a mind. I can direct my mind according to my purpose. I can generate patterns of meaning which I can share with other people. And then we can both agree, oh, what was said is meaningful. It's meaningful because the meaning was in the words and we've taken the meaning out of the words. But the meaning was never in the words. The meaning was in your understanding of the word so that you could apply the correct interpretation. You project meaning into the word, and then the word projects the meaning back to you. This flow of interpretation, when you are in this flow of interpretation, it seems like a stream of meaning. And so we need to have more immersion in it to get richer and deeper experience. But this meaning is not inherent in the word or the sound. It is applied because I know that language. So at the moment, I'm speaking in English, and I can hear Jayachita translating it into German. When I say something in English, Jayachita is able to receive this because her mind and my mind can meet in the concept. It's not that I am sending some package of meaning to Jayachita, but we meet in the concept. That is to say, the meaning is co-emergent with the meeting of our minds as they are patterned by the concept. The meaning is co-emergent with the balancing or the alignment of these two modes of interpretation. Mine as a native English speaker, Jayachita's as a native German speaker who has learned English well. So this, what I'm describing, is a little bit dense. It might seem rather abstract and theoretical, but the intrinsic is not compounded. It's not constructed. Communication is a shared enterprise. So you could talk to a wall, but it would be just your monologue. When you speak to someone else and they respond, you're getting a fine-tuning adjustment of the nature of the potential of the transaction. Nothing in my ordinary world is intrinsic. All the furniture has an origin. My clothes, my books, my papers, they all have an origin. They came into time by being put together. So I would invite you to explore this again and again till you are absolutely clear that what is intrinsic is inexpressible, and whatever can be expressed is non-intrinsic. So he says, awareness as this suchness is Buddhahood. So the mind is not just an open space, but it's a space which has illumination and therefore the potential for revelation. That is to say, I am conscious of my watch. My watch is an object for my naming, my conscious interpretation. But awareness, or rigpa, doesn't take an object and is not an object. So he says awareness as this suchness. Such means just this. And this is described by these 5 qualities: uncompounded, self-arisen, infinite, inexpressible, and beyond labeling. Okay, so uncompounded, self-arisen, infinite, inexpressible, and beyond labeling. So when you are present with your mind as it is, the integrity, the vitality, the as it isness of this experience is itself Buddhahood. So then he says, unaware of this, sentient beings wander in samsara. Oh, everyone we see is wandering in samsara. They have some intentions. We believe it's good to have an intention, otherwise you might stay in bed all day. Some friend might say, oh, come, go out, let's go out, we'll go to the park, we see it's very lovely. So with the wish to offer your friend a good experience, a richer form of their life, we say, let's go and experience something different. But I am real, what I'm going to experience is real. No matter how exciting the experience seems to be, it cannot take us out of our dualistic perception. So what he's pointing to here is the one key that opens all locks. That if you see the open, empty ground of the manifestation of everything, including yourself, then this will free you from samsara. So then he says, may all beings in the 3 realms. 3 realms here means all the different possibilities of where sentient beings can be born. He says, may all these beings be aware in the truth of the ineffable base, not aware of the truth of the ineffable base. It's not a subtle object that you want to apprehend, but you are aware or present, and this presence has no shape or color, no beginning or end, and it is inseparable from the source. Good. So we go to take a break now. The text I'm looking at is from this book, Finding Freedom. It's a very useful book. Okay, so we meet again in an hour. Good. Thank you. Okay. So we do another page of this book, and then we go on to looking at the binaries. So then he says, I, Samantabhadra, affirm the truth of the source free of causes and conditions. So the thing about Samantabhadra is they say that of all the Buddhas, he is the only who's never been in samsara. So for all the other Buddhas and for us, we're wandering in samsara and gradually we find our way. But from the very beginning, Samantabhadra has been present in open awareness with all the potential of the ground. So he's saying the first quality that was said to be that of the source, this uncompoundedness. We looked at that time that all the items of our world, our familiar world, arise due to causes and conditions. Whatever we look at, whether we look at diseases or potatoes or war, all of these events arise due to causes and conditions. But the source, the ground, is not touched by any event. It's said to be kada, pure from the very beginning. So in our practice, we might do Vajrasattva because we see we have limitations or the 5 poisons or difficulty in the family or whatever. And we think, oh, my limitations are caused. Therefore, I need to purify my mind. And we make use of Vajrasattva and his long mantra and so on in order to do that. So Vajrasattva is an antidote to the limitations that we have developed through karmic accumulation on the basis of believing in duality. But when we see the qualities of the source, and if we can release ourselves from our attachment to our interpretive comments, then we have this space to see, oh, the mind is not a thing, so how could it be made dirty? If you take a cup of tea and you throw it up into the sky, the tea and the cup will fall down. There is no substance in the sky that can support the weight of the tea and the cup. Now, you can still throw the tea up into the sky. The tea goes up and then it comes down. In the same way, in the meditation instructions, it says, thoughts arise by themselves and they vanish by themselves. They are self-vanishing. Because they arise by themselves and they go by themselves, you don't need to clean the mind. It's self-cleaning. So then he says, awareness is intrinsically present with the source itself. It is untouched by the faults of separating outer and inner and employing biased judgments. So you're here, wherever you are, you're here, you're sitting someplace, and you can take your skin bag as the limit of your private world. And you can look at the things around you. My books are not me. My computer is not me. My shoes are not me. So this is stuff on the outside. I am on the inside. So he's saying, don't do this. If you separate the inside from the outside, and you make the inside your home base, then the outside will be full of dead objects that you comment on. But when you're sitting, don't think about what's happening. Just be aware of what is occurring. So for me, part of this is I feel my feet on the ground. I feel the weight of my torso pressing my bum onto the wooden chair. I feel, if I lean forward, I feel the weight of my head. So if I don't go into a naming and storytelling about these three moments, then these are occurrences. They occur for the mind. So I'm aware of chairs, books, and so on around me. And I'm aware of my body as a flow of sensation. The outer and the inner are equal or even or not fundamentally different in their being merely the flow of experience. Nothing is established as truly existing. Oh, the field of experience includes all that I take to be my body, my memories, my plans, my possessions, the weather, and so on. What there is this all at onceness, or the co-emergence of inner and outer, or of self and other. So then self and other are not two things which are back to back as mutually rejecting, but are arising and vanishing. Moreover, they are co-emergent. They arise together in a pulsation, giving some patterns of more patterns of experience. So he says this open source is untouched by employing biased judgments. So if I have some sensation and I say my back is sore, okay, so we go back to the first bit. There is some sensation. The sensation comes and goes. It gets more intense and less intense. I add concepts, I interpret, and I come to the conclusion, my back is sore. When I say that, it kind of shoehorns me back into my skin bag. So if I touch my face, oh, very nice. And then I touch the book, oh, it's very different. I don't feel what the book feels, if it feels anything. Feel my hand on my face from the position of the hand, and I also feel it from the position of the face, because the face is registering sensation, as is the hand. The sensation that arises in conjunction is particular to my formation now. I cannot feel what you feel in your body. And it's quite difficult to describe sensation. So we tend to say, make our comments in terms of a conclusion. My back is sore. Now, of course, this sentence seems to float in a timeless zone. So I'm not saying my back is sore at the moment. I'm not saying my back is sore because I lifted this heavy piece of furniture. My back is sore. It takes on the quality of an enduring quality. This is something you can know about me. Oh, James's back is sore. So my back is sore is a statement of compoundedness. It's a formulation. It's bringing something into form, which gives it a sense of existing across the arrow of time. So, saying that the source has no need of conclusions. It's not lost. It's not confused. It's not needing an explanation of where it is or what it seems to be. So he says the source is untainted by the darkness of the loss of recollection. Oh, it's very commonly used. The metaphor is the mirror. If the mirror is in a room where there is no light at all, there is no reflection in the mirror, but the potential of the mirror to show reflections is not limited. Should an object or an image arise in front of the mirror, it will show a reflection of it. But if there is no light and no reflection showing, the mirror is still a mirror. The mirror isn't limited or damaged or compromised by the absence of reflection. And this is very important for meditators. Because as you loosen your identification with the forms which arise as a stream, as a flow, constructing images of yourself and your world, then just flowing and just flowing, no damage is done. Although there is no reflection, the integrity of the mirror is there. So sometimes maybe you're very tired, or there have been many difficulties, or you're physically exhausted, and the mind goes blank. So in that moment, you have the presencing, not, so I'll put it another way. In that moment, you have no presencing of the familiar images that confirm that you exist. You can't make sense of your situation. You're too tired. Then in that moment, you can see, oh, experience is not dependent on interpretation. Experience thickens with interpretation. Your thoughts seem to add meaning and value to what is arising. So it's at that point, we want to just very gently rock back away from merging in the object side. I'm here, I'm present with nothing as nothing. And this nothing is a bit kind of foggy and dull. It's not like a bright, shining, empty sky. It's a little bit, it's sort of dense. So when we fall asleep at night, the reflection in the mirror, which we take to be the continuity of I, me, myself, this thins and fades. You don't have a conceptual reference point. You just fall asleep. And then something happens. Maybe you awake in the dream, or maybe you're woken up because you need to go to the toilet, or you're awakened by fear. I'm here, but what is occurring is like an illusion. It doesn't have any substance. Same when you're dying. And your identification with consciousness, with the five elements, earth, water, fire, wind, and space, your identification with these starts to get lighter and more fine. and our familiar world dissolves. The potential of the world is still there. You can even hear people laughing and joking as they have a drink of whiskey and remember you. But you're going into the first bardo, which is the bardo of the dissolving of formulated appearances. And that state is just open, no particular content. In the text say, if you stay present with that openness, you will find liberation as the Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya, or the mind of the Buddha, is not dependent on the quality of reflections in the mirror. The reflections tell you that some experience is there, but that there's nothing to apprehend. So at that moment, you're dead, you can't go back into your body, this life is over. But who am I? Where will I go? What will happen to me? If you get caught up in these thoughts, they will roll you like a big tide. I am aware of the emptiness or the unbornness of this non-dual presence in nothing at all. So the darkness of the loss of recollection, a kind of wipeout, nothing at all is happening. I can't even have an internal conversation about it. Awareness is not tainted by this. Awareness is like the brilliance of the glass in the mirror. The mirror is, it has no substance of its own to be visible or invisible. But these reflections that arise in the mirror, if you think of an ordinary car mirror or mirror on a bicycle, the reflections don't touch the mirror. So if you were a child and you were playing, maybe you have some dolls and you think, I'm the doctor, and so you have a little stethoscope and you go to each of the dolls and try to find their pulse and so on. This is the drama of your mind. The plastic dolls can't speak, but you can speak for them. You can have the dolls speaking the way your own mother speaks to you. In this whole interaction of illusory or unborn non-entities continues. A lot is displayed, but nothing is established. So, as some of us have looked many times before, when things are established, they take on a kind of fixity. So I can keep piling things up and I'm accumulating something. And the more things I pile on, the more work I have to make in holding it in place. Now I'm using two hands. So my life energy is being gathered together into this task. And I'm doing this because I want to accumulate a lot of experience. I want to have a rich and fulfilling and vital life. I don't want to be bored. I don't want to be frustrated. But life arises in interaction with circumstances, how people are around us. Parents get sick and die, children get sick and then grow up and leave home and so on. So many structures that were in place at one time are now dissolved. And so we're trying to either put life into the future, making sure that we get another job or we find a new partner or whatever. But I'm not building anything except a castle of shadows. So when I see in daily life the actuality or the how it isness or what is revealed to me through my senses, this is always ungraspable. And what I do grasp at is my concept about what the thought seems to be indicating. When I see this, then with the vanishing of what my mind has been resting on, then maybe I'm just sitting in nothing at all. Very few thoughts come to mind, very little sensation. Things are just almost like feeling that a bat is flying in the sky just above your head on a summer's night. These thoughts are a bit like that, but you can't see them and you can't catch them. The object is thinning. There's less and less for me to focus on. And simultaneously, the subject is thinning because there's nothing for me to think about or remember or plan. And therefore, the dynamic of subject and object, of self and other, of their interaction is not so fascinating. So it's as if you're in the theater and you're looking at the stage, and there are two characters, a self and other, or subject and object. But I'm a bit bored with them. They don't hook my attention so much. So now I maybe lean back and I look up at the ceiling of the theater and I see all this plaster work, the stucco work as built 150 years ago. And I think, oh, there is so much here. So I'm being released from this fixation on the figural, that which announces itself very strongly, and everything is now even as background or as the potential of the field of experience. So then he says, and so spontaneous appearance is free of faults. Means whatever comes, comes. Whatever goes, goes. I'm not the factory making these experiences. I'm not the stage director organizing the patterning of these experiences. I don't know why this kind of experience is arising for me now. So I say it's spontaneous. That is to say, it suddenly arrives. It's not built up by the stages of cause and effect. This is here, this is here, this is here. Everything always arises all at once. But because this appearance is dynamic and doesn't arrive someplace, there's no fixity or conclusion. And so he says it's free of faults. It's just empty appearance. There is no substance to it. So, say you've been playing on the carpet with a 3-year-old, and they've got a little fire engine. But now the wheel is locking and it won't run properly. And the child says, uh-oh, broken. And this is not good because we can't play. So the child's already showing you that they have a storyline. The fire engine moves very quickly into emergency situations, and the men come out and do exciting things. That is how it should work. That's how fire engines are supposed to be. But now we've got a broken fire engine. It's another form of the wounded healer. That's fine. It's a broken fire engine. But it's spoiled. It doesn't work. Oh, this, you can often see children get quite angry or anxious around these moments. The child knows the qualities of the objects in its world. So the child might know, my mother's ears are twice as big as my father's. So when I say, Mom, she turns round. But if I say, Dad, he just holds the newspaper up more. So mums do things differently from dads. So is a dad a broken form of mum? Come on, get up, do something, play with me. So there you see the child is developing knowledge and expectation. And the expectation becomes the basis for the judgment that this is good or this is not good. So we see that the child is telling the fire engine what it is. You are broken. You don't work properly. You're useless. You have very definitive knowledge. So when we are with spontaneous appearance, when it is revealed as it is, then a broken fire engine is just as much a fresh revelation as one that's working well. What makes the broken fire engine broken is my idea of what a fully functioning fire engine is like. So we've got comparing and contrasting, evaluating the different qualities and coming to conclusions. But when we see the immediacy of the arising of this formation, before we put these interpretations onto it, we see this spontaneous appearance is free of faults. The fault arises from the definition. So then he says intrinsic awareness, the awareness that is just present because it's present. It's without any cause or condition. This is fresh and unchanging. It's not mixed up with the transient content of the mind. So then Samantabhadra says it is free of fear and panic even if the three worlds are destroyed. Because we're fresh. And in this freshness, what arises is ungraspable. And so if a reflection or a transient experience is vanishing, what is the basis for fear? So if you, when you wake in the morning, if you just sit for a little in a very simple way without any agenda, you just relaxed and open, then you find my thoughts come and go, my sensations come and go, feelings come and go. I am impermanent. So what am I afraid of? This body is always changing. And it will move towards death. The formative forces that bring the seeming coherence of the five elements forming my familiar body, these dissolve. I am dying. This body will not continue moving around in this world for a long time. And all the patterns which arise will vanish. Self-arising, self-vanishing. If we think, since we were born, how many billions of thoughts have died inside us? And how many millions of appearances have died or vanished outside of us? Always arising and vanishing in the manner of a dream, like a reflection, like a mirage. This is how they are. It's not how I want them to be, but how they are. So again, we're back with the crossroads. Is the world complete in how it shows itself to be? And And I'm part of this, and it's always changing. And thoughts dissolve into space, and memories dissolve into space, and this body will also dissolve into space. I have always had the nature of the mind. I am an empty form in the empty mind, just as a reflection is an empty form in an empty mirror. I am not who I think I am. My body is not what I think it is. My speech is always a flow from silence into sound into silence. So he says, with the non-duality of appearance and mind, that means that when you're aware of something, you don't collapse into the duality of I'm on the inside and this thing is out there. But this appearance, if you just tilt it slightly towards yourself, you see, oh, it's this experience. You see that the appearance is not just something happening to me, for me, but it is something arising with me. So if I pick up a glass of water, I can take a big gulp of it and it feels very easy. But if I pick up a glass of freshly squeezed lemon juice, when it comes into my mouth, there is a kind of aversive reaction because it is as if something is happening to me which is operating against my familiar sense of self. But if I just stay with this intense flavor in the mouth, it's not a thing, it's not something that is happening to me. It is something which is occurring as we. Because how I drink it will depend on how I experience the taste. I sip it little by little because of its intensity. So I am deciding to drink it in this way, or the intensity of the flavor of the lemon juice causes me to just sip it. You can tell the story from either end because this is a joint movement in space. And Sialam often said to me, sometimes the mind looks subject, sometimes it looks object. So if I've got the lemon juice, there is an object, but of course the object is depending on the sensation in my mouth. The object is revealed through the subject. You cannot experience an object as object because it's always mediated through your sense of self. They always arise together, subject and object. You're walking along the passageway and you come to the stairs and you walk down the stairs according to the stairs. So how the stairs are made, the gaps between the steps and so on, influences how you can go down the stairs, whether you could run down them or you go very carefully. I am the site of the dance or the interaction of subject and object. The emptiness of my mind, and especially if I can have an absence of prejudice in my mind for a while, then I can see this interplay. I am the space, I am the interplay, I am the effulgence, or how this manifests. So there we see non-duality. It's not subject and object, but it's subject with object, neither two nor one. So I put my hands together like this, and there's not just one hand, but there's not two hands. So they are inseparable. So if my fingers started to grow together, I would need to focus not on a sequence of right hand and then left hand, but the immediacy or the all at onceness of two hands inseparable. Subject and object move together all the time. Appearance and mind move together. This is a non-reductive understanding. So we don't say, oh, everything is the mind, because there are appearances. But you only have appearances because you have a mind. Appearances are revealed by the clarity of the mind. If you like, although neither is born, they are born together through their co-emergence as the site of their unfolding. Since you were born, you have always been somewhere. It's never just you. It is you and your bed, you and your clothes, you and your football boots, you and whatever it is. But you are always in dialogue with the environment. So if we go back to the beginning of his text, he says, and two paths. Either you see the source or you don't. If you don't see the source, you imagine things. But when you see, and that this is the only, the only site of experience, then appearances and the mind are inseparable. So in this way, there is no attachment to the pleasures of the five senses. And the key thing here is the nature of attachment. Important to me. This is special. So I need to protect it. This is the way I like it done. So if you do it this way, I'll be very happy. If you do it another way, I won't be so happy. So when I like something, I open to it. When I don't like it, I try to close it out. So in theory, or as an ideal, I might want to be open all the time. But some experiences are good and some are not so good. So I'm not stupid. Why would I open to the unpleasant? Okay, this is unpleasant. Would you like some of it? No. Why not? Because it's unpleasant. How do you know it's unpleasant? Why are you asking me? You told me it was unpleasant. Well, we both know it's unpleasant. We agree it is unpleasant. I don't want it. You don't want it. It's very good to meet someone as intelligent as you. But what is it? If it's a what, it is what you say it is. If it's a how, you have to see how it is for you today, here and now. Normally, I wouldn't drink lemon juice, but today in London, it's hot and humid. So under these conditions, the taste of the lemon juice feels refreshing. So the key thing here is, due to causes and conditions, different aspects of the qualities of any situation will be revealed. Oh, don't be attached to pleasure through the five senses. Don't be attached to trying to avoid displeasure through the five senses. So you imagine I'm drinking this very strong lemon juice. And I drink it and say, oh, this is too much. There's two possibilities here. One is that I'm driving a nail into the lemon juice. This object is not agreeable for me. I don't want contact. Or this is referring to the sensation in my mouth. Oh, this is too much. Oh. So I'm with it. I'm not pushing it away. I'm with it. Oh, wow. So I'm having a reaction in the contact, not against the contact. We're not trying to turn ourselves into a dead object. But don't reify the experience. And if you don't reify it, you can't have an attachment to it. So then he says, self-arising awareness is free of concepts. This doesn't mean that there are no concepts arising, but the awareness is not resting on the concept. So in the last months, sometimes I felt very, very ill and I've had to go up the stairs on my hands and knees. Then I could start to go up one step at a time, but with a hand on the wall just to steady myself. And then after some time, I could go up one step, being quite balanced. So in a situation like that, you see that each of these modalities of the body reveals a different view of potential. Each is what it is. And if you stay with the sensation, like crawling on hands and knees, and as you're doing it, you're living in a flow of experience, you don't need to have any judgment. As soon as you say, this is terrible, I'm really getting old, maybe I'll never recover, I don't want to live like this, and you layer all these thoughts on top of each other, then it's terrible. Everything we grasp at, everything we believe in is constructed by our own mind. So stay relaxed, stay open, don't conceptualize. And then we see that experiences arise with their particular shapes and flavors and so on, but then they dissolve and they don't leave any trace. And also the five poisons which come in the mind, which are usually seen as bad, the density of my sense that I exist, with the parallel density, you exist, I can see what you're doing. Ah, I've got your number. Okay. So now my mind is resting on its interpretation as if how I think you are is the revealed truth of who you are. So in all these situations, stay with the freshness of the source. In the Dharmakaya, there is no freezer. There's not even a refrigerator. Everything is fresh, freshly cooked. It tastes like this. When you feel horrible, this is very fresh, full power horribleness. I never knew that loneliness could be so delicious. But if you put a little pepper on, and this pepper is called pour me, then the food will taste very differently. because now you're starting to build up a story about yourself. Whether there is desire or aversion, jealousy or pride, stay with the fresh revelation, but don't overburden it with the composition of a storyline. Whatever arises will vanish by itself. Even if you tell it how good it is and that you love it 1,000 times, it will always vanish. Even if you really don't like something and you want it to go, it will go when it's ready. So see, there is only one ground or one source. There is nothing other than this. And then the natural purity of the mind will integrate everything. Okay, so if we have a break now and come back at 4 o'clock, then we have our final session. Good. Thank you very much. Okay. So let's continue. It's our last section of the day. The account of the development of marikpa, of unawareness, of lack of clarity, has many different forms in the Nyingmapa tradition. But we have to remember that what's being described is actually indescribable. As Samantabhadra said, one of the qualities of the source is it is jodume. It can't be expressed. It can't be stated in any way. So when we read an authentic text, it is the disclosure of a luminous experience from some great yogini or somebody who is completely immersed in the Dharma. And so there is a quality of authenticity or ringing true, which we want to get the flavor of. Maybe a bit like if you had a favorite piece of music, some Chopin or Beethoven or something, and sorry, on your and you'd been to concerts of that piece again and again, and you had different recordings of it. Each performance and each recording speaks of the potential of that moment when the music was being played. So you might hear a recording and the tempo seems just right, but the tone is a little flat. If you just go into a judgment about it and say, oh, this is not a good recording, I wouldn't bother listening to it, the conductor was not really on form that day, what you return to is your own limit. The issue is more how can I experience myself experiencing the music? So my awareness is my openness to the sound as it arises and vanishes. And my dualistic consciousness, which is like a kind of troublesome twin of awareness, this consciousness, it will make a commentary about the value of the recording and know what is good and what is not good. It's a talking about. And the more you talk about something, the more alienated you are from it because it's become reified very strongly. So when trying to relax out of the frame of right, wrong, good, bad. So when unawareness of the ground arises, the true existence of subject and object is imagined. And this first level of unawareness is now no longer aware of being unaware. Its unawareness is hidden from it by its increasing immersion in the conscious positioning, I know what's happening. So I know what to look for. Instead of just seeing whatever arises, there is the sense that I am looking to confirm the truth of what I believe in. And the more I make my judgments, there is a double move. I'm confirming the reality of the object, the definability of the object, the way the value of the object can be identified. But simultaneously, these three aspects are applied to myself. I am real, I am separate, I'm doing well today or not, and so on. Then from this, as there is more interaction with the environment, especially if you're born in the human dimension, language is enormously important. Clearly, on you go. So language lets us name the specificity of each object. So this is an avocado. Now, I don't know in different countries, but in England, often the avocados are not very ripe, or they don't even ripen at all, even if you keep them for some time. You can't see inside. You have to imagine. And then you might say, oh, I'm not going to buy avocados anymore in that shop because they're not good. So naming and definition promotes judgment and evaluation. And now I feel confident that I know what the qualities of this object are. I can engage in talking with other people because there is something for me to talk about. We're talking about avocados. They grow on trees. They have a big stone inside. Oh, if we have a discussion about avocados, everyone can bring in their little bits of information that they've seen them growing in South America or whatever. Because the ego self, that is to say, my sense that I stand apart from the world. I can see the world, I can see people outside me, but I am myself inside my skin bag. This separated and imagined ego self, because I'm imagining my separation. So we have to remember what Samantabhadra said first. There is one ground, or one source, and two paths. The ground just is. What we take it to be is what we take it to be. That's not what it is. But when we are in our dualistic consciousness and we believe what we say, then it is as if our account of the object is the truth of the object. So we have a sense that the world is full of autonomous entities. And the density of the seeming reality of the thing that I'm focusing on seals the object in the stupid now. Because very often we talk of the three times, past, present, and future. And in relation to that, we have the intuitive, spontaneous, all at once, non-dual disclosure of the here and now. Everything is here, and it's always dissolving and changing. So it's like a stream or a flow of experience. And when we pay attention to this, we can't find even one thing which is truly existing either in or out of the flow of experience. But the stupid now, which is very, very popular, says this is an avocado. It is autonomous. Now, on the top, we can see the little hard point where it was connected to the avocado tree. This is the umbilical cord of the avocado, which has been cut, giving birth to the avocado as a separate entity. But the avocado cannot be separated from its history. The temperature, whether the wind was blowing, was there enough rainfall, were the avocados picked at the right time, were they stored without too much weight on each other so they got bruised and crushed. So it seems reasonable to say this avocado is an entity. It's here in itself, of itself. Even when you remember buying it and carrying it home, it seemed to exist apart from the fact that you agreed that you would buy it at the price the shopkeeper wanted. The relative cause of the avocado is the avocado tree and the farmer's desire to make money growing avocados and so on. But it exists in time. You bring it home and you squeeze it a bit, you think, wow, it's really hard. It's not ripe at all. So you put it in a cupboard. And due to life being the way it is, you don't open the cupboard for a month. Now you have a rotten avocado. Because in order to be successful in life, you have to be like Goldilocks. If the bed is too hard, you need to get another one. If the bed is too soft, you need to get the proper one. Proper for you. You are part of the avocado's life story. That is to say, there is no self-existing avocado. There is no self-existing house. Even if you own your own house, the local council wants to take some tax for the supply of water and so on. And you have to pay the mortgage because houses are expensive. So it is as if the house is now yours, but it's still woven into these causes and conditions. So the central point here is the delusion of autonomy, that our world is full of things that exist in and of themselves. So we see Mr. Putin says Ukraine doesn't belong to the Ukrainians, belongs to Russia. And we see that for many Israelis, Palestine should be part of Israel with no other kind of people around. And in terms of ethics, this is very important. The absence of inherent existence in phenomena means that in their emptiness of self-existence, they are at the mercy of power factors which wish to redefine them. In the times of colonial expansion, people traveled out very often from Europe and claimed other territories as their own. It's a very simple process. We like this land. We want this land. This land is ours. If you object, we put you in prison or we kill you. And generally, people accept the new definition of this situation. Because if you are fighting to push out the invader, your culture has already been altered by having to fight. We want our country back. Make America great again. Time doesn't go backwards. However it was, it's gone. So the Buddha said many times, all compounded appearances or things are impermanent. All the forms of samsara are empty, and they move around in complex patternings. But this can be very overwhelming for the ego. And so we prefer to simplify what is occurring. And we do this by using very simple concepts to define what is occurring. And this is where the function of binary opposition comes in. So when the EU was forming, Charles de Gaulle was very suspicious about the British because we didn't join at the very first moment, and France and Germany formed a strong alliance. Are you one of us? Do you believe that you can be fully French and European? And ask a question to the Germans as well. Do you believe you can be fully German and fully European? People say, well, yeah, probably, maybe, we try. But the British, they say, no, but we are British. And their Britishness was so tightly defined that it could only be maintained by excluding all the other definitions. And this British ambivalence became very problematic. It went on and on and on, and the European partners saying, what the hell, this is crazy. Look at the Hungarians. They're hardly European at all. They're completely aligned with their own fantasy. But look how much money we give them. Don't take it so seriously. No, but we are British. So, mutually exclusive binary opposition. Because we are British, we cannot be fully European. And then the Scottish say, because we are Scottish, we cannot be fully British. But they are weak. And we're told, just shut up. So here you see that if you are going to exclude something, you need to have a simple definition of what it is. It won't work with complexity. Oh, we have a familiar list of the 8 worldly concerns. And these 8 are organized in 4 pairs. That we have a hope for profit and a fear of loss. We have a hope of gaining pleasure and a fear of pain. And we have a hope of fame, of having a good reputation, and a fear of defamation or denigration. And we have a hope of praise and a fear of blame. So when these are seen as mutually exclusive, we say there is no alignment or no collaboration between the polarities. The winner takes all. The loser gets nothing. It's not fair. There's no skin around us. I win, you lose, fuck you. Because if I care about you and I see that you are upset, why wouldn't I share the victory with you? I see your face. I see your sad face. I don't want to see your sad face. I want to see your happy face. because I feel happier seeing happy faces. So if I insist on winning, I make the whole world sour. But I won. Why shouldn't I be victorious? Look what it does to your environment. You can lose by winning, and you can win by losing. That is at the heart of the Christian story. Jesus is triumphant in being sacrificed. He's losing, or he's being made into an object, suddenly flips the game around, and he has this transcendent rise into heaven. So what we've looked at today in the text is that there is the same source for everything. If you like, we're all in the same family or the same mandala. And there is a place for everything and everyone inside the mandala. So in the practices which are focused on a high level of complexity, there is a place for everything in the mandala. So you see the deities, the wrathful deities with wings and talons, and they hold many dangerous weapons. They have flames all around them. And they're standing on usually two naked bodies. These are the bodies of the beings who resisted the will of the Buddha, and they've been defeated, but they have a place in the mandala. They are a cushion. And if you read the book, Me First, that we made a few years ago, it describes how by being the cushion for the holy enlightened ones, their own path to enlightenment is opened. That is to say, the Buddha and the defeated, you can say, demon, are linked together by their joint engagement. So when we are in the world and we find ourselves attributing value to different people, different situations, and so on, and we have our usual hierarchy: pleasure is better than pain, profit is better than loss, the precise definition of these qualities is held in place by keeping them free of contamination by the opposite polarity. So it is as if pleasure has an inherent existence and pain has an inherent existence, like the avocado. So as an antidote to this, we have the practice of tonglen, of giving and receiving. I like pleasure and I don't like pain. All sentient beings have at one time been my own mother. They have done many things for me. I owe them for their kindness. They have problems. I have problems. That's enough. But they have problems. They are my mothers. How could I turn my back on them? I prefer pleasure to pain, so do they. Therefore, whenever I feel happy, whenever I feel pleasure, I will give my happiness and pleasure to others. And whenever I feel pain or difficulty or loneliness or sadness, I will give all my happiness to others. Now, in terms of the ego self, this sounds very stupid. looking around in the world, pleasure and happiness is rare enough. Why would you give it away? Because I am for the other. The Dharmakaya, the luminosity of the mind, that is for me. I need to awaken to the true nature of my own mind. Well, then we have the energy arising from the Dharmakaya, or the potential of the Dharmakaya, which manifests as the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya. This is for the other. The Buddha comes into the world for the sake of other beings. Tara shows 21 different forms because she is bringing out a precise form in a particular situation for the sake of some person. I will be what you need. So in terms of the Nirmanakaya, this flow of all-pervading compassion, the texts say it can manifest as a bridge over a river if there is no bridge, or as a tree in a big open plain so travelers can get some shade. It's for you. It's not for me. This is such a radical challenge to, I have to protect myself from being contaminated by you, to becoming someone who can say, I will be however you need me to be. When we take the Bodhisattva vow, we say, in this and all my future lives, I will work for the benefit of all beings. The organizing trajectory of my life is the benefit of others. What is required? So sometimes that involves me primarily looking at myself. Because because when I look at myself, I might see, well, it's easy to say I will work for the benefit of others, but my tendency is self-relational, is privileging myself. So before I think of benefiting others, I have to do some spring cleaning and really attend to these negative qualities. We are lazy. We have many intense habits. We enjoy distraction. We can see with children and mobile phones just how much enjoyment can lie in distraction. But I want to work for the other. So I can purify myself with Dodjisembha, with a tantric transformation, becoming Padmasambhava, by doing the Guru Yoga of the White R. The key thing is that I release myself from my attachment to the patterns of thoughts, feelings, and memories, the content of my own mind, so that I can refresh myself in the unborn openness of the mind itself. And then, being refreshed in this way, everything is open. How shall I be? We come back to our usual phrase, receive and respond. When we receive, we get the flavor, the contouring, the shape of this environment. And we respond by taking our place inside this dynamically unfolding environment. I'm not trying to convert people to Buddhism. I'm not trying to find people who will reassure me that how I do things is a good way. Rather, how is it? At this very moment, we have wars, we have economic difficulties, tariffs, and all the rest of it. There are many disturbing factors. What is required? Peace. We have a lot of, in Tibetan language, a lot of usages of the word peace. We practice shamatha or jine, peaceful mind, abiding peacefully. When people have peace, their arousal goes down. The somatic parallel of that is that inflammation in the body goes down. So you can feel for yourself what is useful. We see that many of the world leaders don't seem to care about their own people. Because if we care about the other, especially if we can put them first, then we can't start with ourselves. We have a text in the book we have on Buddha Amitabha, Longing for Limitless Light. And we have a traditional text for developing the Bodhisattva vow. And one of the texts says, "From today, I become the servant of all beings. I will act for them." So it's not saying I will act for them by doing what I like. If they like it, I'll do that. So if we can do this in a very deep way, we don't even have to kind of weigh the scales and think what percentage for them, what percentage for me. What greater joy could I have than making one or many of my old mothers happy? I have been born many times. And because I had a mother in each life, I had many different experiences of being mothered. All my mothers are different. What unites them is that they have taken care of me. So if I'm going to take care of them, I have to do it according to how they are. Although the mind is empty and everything which arises in the mind is not other than the radiance of emptiness, if we see this quality of the Sambhogakaya, it prevents us going into judgment about what is occurring because it is the radiance of the mind. Receive and respond. I receive how you are, not how I think you are, not how I would like you to be, but how you actually are. The great kindness of other people is that they interrupt the trajectory of our own egoic self-absorption. And because this is always being revealed, it's not a fixed thing, I cannot rest in the confidence of knowledge. So you might have learned some recipes when you were young from your mother or grandmother, and you're confident, oh, I can make a good fruit cake. But with fruit cake, you have a recipe. With people, there is no recipe. In Tantra, they try to have a recipe. So we focus on the 5 Buddha families. And then we see with the empowerment, does the flower fall, which section of the mandala does the flower fall in? So that gives us a sense, maybe we have to focus on anger or jealousy, but it's already a bit abstract. When you meet people, they show how they are in this moment. And from that, we can respond. And through the pulsations, we can find a rhythm whereby there is contact, and this contact is loosening the definition of self and other. So whenever we find ourselves being invited to take sides, whether it's politics or economics, or some family conflict, And we see, oh, I'm being invited into the theater of concepts. And everything that occurs there is based on the delusion that my thoughts give me accurate access to the world as it is. Relax and release. Do the Guru Yoga of the white R. Relax in the out breath. My source is the source, not my karmic history, not my life story, but the unborn, unchanging ground. So whenever we are in a situation where we don't know what to do, or we don't know how to respond, release yourself into the unborn ground, and everything will become more clear from that point. This is intrinsic. This is not artificial, it's not created, it's not produced by all the thoughts of samsara. Everything is within the one mandala. We have new neighbors, profit and loss, pleasure and pain, fame and defamation, praise and blame. Pleasure and pain, fame and defamation, and praise and blame. Now, that's 4 couples. They each have a modern marriage. They fight a lot, and they don't seem to like each other. But actually, they've been together a long time. And if you find one of them, the other will be there too. So this is our job, to offer couple therapy to these delinquent children, so that we can see directly, immediately, the actual co-emergence and collaboration of all the possibilities that arise in the mind. So this is the last Saturday in this period. We'll have some more Saturdays in the autumn. And we have one more question and answer before the summer break. And this year, quite a few new books have been produced. A lot of work goes into producing these books. So it might be worth buying and reading from time to time. Oh, maybe we meet in the autumn, health permitting, everyone's health permitting. We don't know. Let's see. So I wish you a happy summer. Heaven and hell, they also are a dyad. So in the midst of these noxious, narcissistic, political game playing, the birds sing and the trees dance with the breeze. So I would like to thank Pedro for this background management of today, and our translators who have made this available in different languages. And of course, thanking you for your attention, and I hope you gain some deep benefit. So wishing you good fortune. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Good evening. Herkese iyi akşamlar.
Excellent. Okay.
Bye-bye, James.
Thank you,
James,
James.
we love you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
James. Thank
Do
you.
well.
A lot.
Have a long life.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Obrigada,
everyone.
Milton.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Everyone.
Obrigada pela
Obrigada.
tradução
Thank you.
também, Milton.